Hi, and thank you for joining me for this video. So Naturehike Claim, this is a lightweight 4-season tent packed with some nice features, and it costs less than a lot of the alternative premium brands. So is there a catch? Well, today we're having a good look at the Naturehike Giling Pro 2. Now this is just going to be a first look video because I haven't fully tested this tent yet. But in saying that, we're still going to have a look at the design, the features, the specifications and the build quality, so you can decide if this tent is worth your hard-earned money. Now, when it comes to your storage bag, size-wise, it comes in at 41 centimeters by 15 centimeters by 15 centimeters, and the packed weight comes in at around 1.9 kilograms. Now, apart from your tent, your tent poles, your ground pegs and your guy lines that you get with this tent, you also get a mat or footprint included in the price of this tent, which is a really nice touch because you often have to buy a footprint separately when buying a tent. Now, when it comes to setting up this tent, the first thing you want to do is lay out your mat or your footprint. The next thing to do is connect both your tent poles together. You will then notice on your tent you have a couple of tent pole sleeves. So obviously all you have to do is thread your tent poles through the tent pole sleeves. Now you will notice on one end of your tent you get some black reinforced corners. This is where the tent poles just sit into those corners. However, on the other side you will notice some red and silver patches. This is the opening of your tent pole sleeves, so you know which side to thread in your tent poles. Now, on the one side of your tent where you thread your tent poles through the tent pole sleeves, you will notice some little feet where the tent pole just slides into those feet. However, this is only one side, because don't forget on the other side of your tent, the tent pole sleeve is already sealed off. So all that's left to do now is to go around, peg out your tent, then go round and connect and peg out your guy lines. You will then notice on each end of your tent you have a little air vent. You can just pop those two open. So all in all, it's going to take you about 6 to 7 minutes to pitch this tent. So quick and easy. What I really like about this tent as well is that the inner tent is already connected to the outer rain floor. So if you are setting up this tent in the rain, at least you know your inner tent isn't going to get wet. This is also a semi-freestanding tent, so before you fully peg it out, you can simply just lift this tent up and move it around if you wish. So before we have a closer look at this tent, let's cover a few specs. First of all, this tent is classed as a 2-person 4-season tent. Now this tent you can purchase here in the UK for anywhere between 110 and 150 pounds. So definitely worth keeping an eye out for the best deal. Now this tent, I believe, currently just comes in this one color, which is a sand color. You might also be able to get it in a gray, but don't quote me on that. But one thing I really like about this tent is it has 2 outer doors, 2 vestibules and 2 inner doors. Now, when it comes to this tent, as mentioned earlier, it has 2 outer doors, 2 vestibules and 2 inner doors. So whatever I show you this side is exactly the same on the other side. Now, when it comes to opening up these outer doors, you can simply just unzip these doors and roll and toggle one panel back, or you can roll back and toggle both panels back, giving you a nice big entrance. Now, when it comes to the zips on this tent, they're not YKK zips or anything like that, I don't believe, but they are good quality zips. They're nice and smooth, and I haven't had any issues with them, i.e. snagging or anything like that. Now, the outer zips are covered with a storm flap, and it also has plenty of Velcro on, so at least you know that the storm flap is not going to flap around in the wind if the weather gets worse. Right, when it comes to the fabrics on this tent, the outer rain floor and the bathtub floor are both made from a 20 denier nylon, and they both have a hydrostatic head rating of 3000 millimeters. Now, all the seams are double stitched and tape sealed, so this tent should be completely waterproof. When it comes to the inner fabric on the inner tent, This is made from a 15 denier nylon, and when it comes to the mesh, it is a B3 mesh. Now, when it comes to the mat or footprint that you get with this tent, this is made from a 210T polyester, and it has a hydrostatic head rating of 5,000 millimeters. So when it comes to the vestibules on this tent, they're not very big. The width comes in at around 55 centimeters. So apart from using these vestibules for a bit of storage, they're not really big enough to cook in. Now, taking a closer look at the inner tent, you can see how high the fabric comes up. This is to help protect you from the cold if you're going to be using this tent in the cooler times of the year. However, you can then see the mesh going all the way to the top. So that's going to allow a nice bit of airflow, which in turn will help reduce any condensation, but also obviously help keep any insects out. Right, let's take a closer look inside this tent. First of all, when it comes to the size, the length comes in at around 220 centimeters. The width comes in at around 140 centimeters, and then the internal height comes in at around 105 centimeters. As you can see, you've got a little lamp hook at the top there, and then you also have 4 little storage pockets. You have 1 in each corner of your tent. You can also see how high these inner panels come up around your tent. So if you are going to be camping in the cooler times of the year, at least it's going to help keep the draft out. However, just above that, you do get a nice bit of mesh all the way around. So that's going to encourage a nice bit of airflow, which in turn will help reduce any condensation and also help keep any of the insects out. So a nice size little tent, a little small for 2 people, like most 2-person tents, but a great size for 1 person. So my final thoughts on this Naturehike Giling Pro. Well, my first impressions are positive. I think it's lightweight, it's compact, it's quick and easy to set up. It comes with some nice features, and for the price you're paying for this tent, I think the build quality is excellent. Now, we haven't fully tested this tent in the rain and the wind and over a long period of time. So until I do that, we don't know if we're going to get a bargain buy, or for the price of this tent, we're going to have to make some compromises. But in saying that, I've owned a few Naturehike tents over the years, and I've never had any issues with them. They've held up in the wind, they've been fantastic in the rain, and as I say, I can't find anything wrong with their tents, especially for the money. So I wouldn't think that this tent would perform any differently, but we will have to wait and see. But listen, let me know what you think about this tent, and is this a tent you would consider buying? But in saying all that, if you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. And lastly, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. But until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.